requires the sucker. Hello people, welcome back with another video with Linksy. How are you guys doing? A lot and an indescribable amount of people are currently enjoying Baldur's Gate 3. Out of those people, a lot more will be joining us soon, and I'm gonna tell you this. Hey guys, it's Alex, Linksy here. How are you doing? Let's look into Baldur's Gate 3 some more, and I would like to give my humble opinion for some cool starts you could do with the races that there are for custom characters. You start the game, you have no idea about D&D, and you can get a bit overwhelmed, especially when there are so many starting races and sub races and all of these do's and don'ts. Now thankfully Larian Studios have done something really nice, which is they have adapted very basic model of the races, where you get the races, they get some base features which are very well balanced, and then you get the classic +2 +1 in the abilities. We'll get to that and it will help you out. Meaning the races themselves are quite balanced, and I need to stress this, whatever you choose can lead to some incredible outcomes. That said, some races can give better results with specific classes or specific builds, so keeping that in mind is going to be good. A major thing I would like to point out is that if you're going with halflings, gnomes or dwarves, you're going to have a bit slower speed than the rest, and that's because, well, they have short legs. Can't judge them, can you? Let's get started. And the first one that comes up is the elf. Elves are very straightforward and simple to explain. They have standardized structure now across all fantasy thanks to Tolkien, and they are the same in D&D and coincidentally same in Baldur's Gate. Now in Baldur's Gate 3 you have three options of elves. You have the high elves, you have the wood elves, and then you have the drow. The drow are separated into their own sub-races. You got the Lord Sworn Drow and the Seldery Drow. We'll get to those later. For now, let us focus on the more traditional elves, the high wood elves variants. They don't have that much of a difference between them, but it is good to note that with high elves you primarily gain a cantrip, a magical cantrip, which you can choose from these. You get Acid Splash, Bone Chill, Firebolt, Poison Spray, Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, Blade Ward, Friends, Dancing Light, Mage Hand, Minor Illusion and True Strike. My honest opinion, if you don't know what you're doing, Firebolt is going to be your best friend. Firebolt is going to power you through from levels 1 to 3, and then after that your class abilities will definitely take over, unless of course you're a mage and Firebolt is the thing. But then if you're a mage and you're going with the high elf, you're essentially just getting an extra cantrip. Now a wizard, not a mage, I call them mages, but they're wizards or sorcerers, they're the magical characters. Now, the difference between the high elves and the wood elves is the wood elves, instead of getting the cantrip, they get Fleet of Foot, adding a 1.5 meter movement speed to their every turn, and this means they're essentially a bit faster on the battlefield, which is going to be really useful. What you also get with elves is weapon training, elven weapon training, gaining proficiency with long swords, short bows and longbows, which is a really useful trait to have. There is no way that you can train yourself in the game to get specific proficiencies in weapons, unless of course you multi-class or simply just specifically build into a class. So this, having the base race built with this, you're gonna have a lot of bonus essentially. As you go for a druid, you can use longswords or longbows a bit more efficiently than that, or a wizard with a longsword, essentially speaking. You also get dark vision, which is more important than one would think. Dark vision allows you to see in the dark, so you don't have to keep taking out your torch to look around, which again will help, especially if you're new to the game. Elves are going to be one of the most noob friendly races out there because of their inbuilt mechanics, which are incredibly good straight off the bat, and you don't have to do much to them. Fey Ancestry is also great because you get advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic doesn't put you to sleep. Sleep is a very powerful spell that can be used en masse to just wipe out parties, and having resistance against charm is really important based on effectively a higher levels charm is used constantly in the game. It's a mainstay. It's a type of gameplay where you just stun and charm and coerce your enemies to do what you want. It's good to note that when we go to the Drow, you have similar things. You have the Drow weapon training, which is a slightly bit different. You get proficiency in rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbow instead of the long bow and short bow and short sword and long sword. The rapier is quite nice. Finesse weapons are always good to have and use, as you can then focus on your dexterity. Superior dark vision, because of course the Drow live in the Underdark and they get to see up to 24 meters instead of 12. Again, really bloody useful, especially since there are a lot of dungeons and a lot of dark places. And then you get same Fey Ancestry as the other elves. The main difference of the Drow subraces is you have the Lostsworn, who are raised by the Lot cult in Menzo Brezan, and then you have the Seldarine Drow. They don't really change much. You still get the cantrip of Dancing Lights, which illuminates around you for the 9 meters, and it's just flavor and in-game mechanics and in-game communications that you have, and just a little bit of a change in how the characters look. As you can see, they have minor changes. One of them looks a little bit more straightforward, and one looks a little bit more evil. So that's the elf element in this game. They are quite good in almost any scenario, both of them. With Drow, you're gonna have a bit more interactions if you're playing on the evil side and people are a little bit more scared of you. But with elves, generally speaking, people tend to trust you more because you're an elf. And elves are always elves. Now, next I would like to go is Tieflings. Tieflings are an incredible part of this story, so building and role-playing as a Tiefling is going to be really cool, really fun, especially if you're just starting out. And on top of this, racial features of Tieflings are really bloody cool, because they get resistance to fire, where they only take half damage from fire. They also get dark vision, and they get base racial speed as normal. That said, you can get a different cantrip according to what type of archdemon, archdevil you are a Tiefling based off. We get 3 options: Asmodeus, Mephistopheles, and Zariel. Zariel gives you the Terminology cantrip, which allows you to intimidate and perform with advantage. Mage Hand is given for the Mephistopheles, which is useful in interacting and manipulating objects around and while exploring, so it's quite useful in roleplay, and especially if you don't have a mage in your party, or you don't have a git in your party, this is going to be amazing. And the Asmodeus Tiefling, you also get Produce Flame. What's good to note as well is that these, as you level up, gain access to more racial features, and they're quite nice in terms of melee classes and clerics, paladins. They do very well with that, as they have a lot of contact classes in that regard. They can still make amazing mages, they can still make incredible monks and other monks, warlocks, sorcerers. They're pretty much good in anything. I wouldn't put them as druids or rogues, as I believe their abilities shine a little bit elsewhere, but keeping that in mind, almost all classes can be played by any race very easily with minimal issues. Tieflings, again, quite basic, quite simple. They do get quite cool interactions with the game. As always, Tieflings are known as Foulbloods in the D&D universe, Faerun, and you're on the Sword Coast, which is Faerun. And on top of that is they form an integral part to the story, as you will interact with them. And as you see from the trailer, to get to this point in the character creation, you realize you do pass from hells, and that's all I'm gonna say. So it can be quite fun to play around with them. Humans, the bare bones most OP character in D&D. Humans are always known to be incredibly powerful because they are the most versatile race, and it doesn't really, in Baldur's Gate, it doesn't really fall short of that. You get two main features: Civil Militia, where you have weapon proficiency with spears, pikes, halberds, and glaives, and armor proficiency with light armor and shields, no matter what class you are. So that's gonna come in useful, where you could have a, let's say, a mage with a shield while casting spells, or all that kind of stuff. Their human versatility, you get an additional skill to be proficient in, and your carrying capacity is increased by a quarter. If you're like me, someone who really likes picking stuff up, and they just end up scouring the entire landscape looking for this, that, and the other thing, for gold, treasure, like even a small bit of rope, I'll pick it up and, you know, put it in my wares to sell later. Humans are going to be really good for that. I feel that humans are, again, the most basic, but they do offer incredible opportunities because you can create them as you want and how you want them. So if you don't know what you want to be, what you want to go, just go with a human. And you can literally, okay, you can literally be anything and just vanish there. You can be whatever you'd like, and you will do well, and it's fun to play. These are the most basic that there are. I actually forgot the half-elves. Half-elves are a hybrid of human and elves. You can have the subrace to be either high, wood, or drow, and you gain a little bit from each of the classes. So for example, if you're a high elf, half elf, you gain a firebolt or a high elf cantrip, you gain the movement speed. If you're a wood half elf, and if you're a drow half elf, you gain the dancing lights. Then you also gain the civil militia and dark vision and fey ancestry. So essentially speaking, human and elf combined into one, and they tend to be really bloody cool to play with. But as I was saying, because I completely forgot about these guys, is that those are the basics. Now we're gonna go into the more exotic, the more unique, and the more specialized. Githyanki. The Githyanki, or also known as the Githzerai, according to which part of the Gith you're from, the children of Gith. They are incredible powerhouses. They have a lot of psionic powers. I believe they're best as monks, paladins, as it really plays into their culture, into their story, into the story in general. Like it's I love role playing them as that. Again, you can role play them as anything you would like, and they're fun to try and play with and move things around. The Githyanki themselves get astral knowledge, and again, this is absolutely crazy because you gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability once per long rest. This is a really powerful ability, as if you want to focus on a specific skill, let's say you stealth, you gain all skills and dexterity for that because you're stealthing around, your lockpicking, sleight of hand, performance, whatever. Like you have dexterity. If you want to go wisdom, you can go wisdom. So you can mold the character according to the situation you need and role play that way, whichever way you want. They get cantrips. You start with Mage Hand, eventually get the Githyanki Psionic Jump, which makes you jump really fast. And these are bound, so it's every, I believe, some of them are every long rest, rest others are just bound spells, which you can just use an action, like their cantrips, their abilities, which you can use whenever you'd want. They have standard movement, and they are they have martial prodigy, meaning they get proficiency with light and medium armor, long swords, short swords, and great swords. They are a foe to be reckoned with. They are absolutely bloody crazy, and you can have a lot of fun with them. Very much unusual in Faerun, so they're going to be given a lot of weird looks and side looks by any character in the game. They're quite hated in certain areas, as they're known to be ruthless, as they are very militaristic, and like zealot. They have very zealot like culture where they revere their queen as a goddess, and she ends up becoming a pseudo goddess because of that, because that's how it works in Faerun and the universe of D&D. They don't have sub races, that's good to note. Next is the dwarves. Dwarves come in 3 sub races, and each of them have some cool stuff. I really like the gold dwarfs for their dwarven toughness. This combined with toughness feat, you're gonna have a tank unlike anything else. You're gonna have hit points increased by 1, and every time you gain a level. So you're gonna get 12 hit points extra. Add toughness on that, top of that, and you're gonna be really difficult to kill. Increase your constitution, play as a cleric or play as a fighter with a shield. It's just going to be impossible to kill you, and you're going to be able to lead your party to victory in that regard. Now, with regards to shield dwarves, you gain armor proficiency with light and medium armor straight off the bat, no matter who you are playing as. So these are really cool. It comes with the name. They're added to take damage. And then there are the Drogar, the evil dwarves. These guys get superior dark vision, 24 meters, which always is amazing, and they get advantage on saving throws against illusions, being charmed or paralyzed, which again, I cannot state how important this is. Keep in mind, if you play as Drogar, you might suffer in terms of how people look at you, as unfortunately, people tend to not look so well at the evil tendencies of your general race. There's a lot of races, and a lot of them have different gods, and the way they interact together, it's absolutely crazy. In general, they also get combat training, dwarven combat training, where they get proficiency with battle axes, hand axes, light hammers, and war hammers. So you're going to be seeing some cool smashing in the head with that. They all get dark vision to 12 meters, but Drogar obviously get up to 12. And then you get dwarven resilience, which is resistance against poison, and saving throws with advantage on against poison. So you're going to be just doing incredibly well with that. You're not really going to get hit that much because you're short, but the downside is you have 7.5 meters only movement, as we said earlier. So party of dwarves is going to walk much slower. Halflings, similar in that regards, but halflings have what I believe to be one of the most broken thing in D&D, lucky. They are lucky. Whenever you roll a 1 for an attack roll, an ability check, or saving throw, you re-roll the dice and use the new roll. Use that with the luck feat. You are essentially just able to keep rolling, and then you have the inspiration, which is really well implemented in Baldurs Gate 3, where if you fail a check, you can re-roll again. And gnomes being able to roll something that you failed critically is incredible. They've really balanced it well in the game because it's a bit more broken in Dungeons and Dragons in general, but gnomes are quite good for that, and they are brave. They have advantage saving throws against being frightened. Being frightened is an incredibly strong debuff, so having advantage on that is great. Their downside is they are very small. They have generally people looking down on them, quite literally and figuratively, and they tend not to do so well. You have 2 types of halflings. You have the Lightfoot and the Strongheart. The Lightfoot gain, they're stealthy, they have advantage on stealth checks, so a rogue with these guys, combining the fact that you're lucky, you are stealthy, you have advantage on stealth checks, a rogue just running around with crossbows or with a bow, oh, it's gonna do so much damage. Like 2 crossbows attacks, like pew pew. Like the stealth damage is gonna be out of this world, absolutely out of this world. Strongheart halflings are more similar to the dwarves. They have resistance against poison and poison damage, and poison advantage. They have advantage on saving throws against poison. Saying that correctly. So understand that before you end up using them, because it can, of course, cause certain things to not go your way. And finally, the last of the short stock, the shortest of them all, but not least of all, possibly the most dangerous of all of them, the gnomes. Gnomes are absolutely crazy. Let's put them as a wizard, because I like the idea of a gnome wizard. So, gnomes get gnome cunning. They have advantage of intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throw. Alright? So, if you play anything that uses intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, so we're talking wizards, we're talking clerics, we're talking paladins, we're talking sorcerers, all of these gonna get advantage on the rolls, and on top of that, they already have really high rolls to begin with. So hey, you know, high modifiers get advantages, so you know what you're gonna be playing with these guys. Really highly suggested to go with those that get benefits from this. Then you have the 3 sub races. You have the rock gnomes, which gain dark vision, very basic thing. Again, it's really good to have because some don't, and you have to keep putting your bloody torch up. You get artificer lore, so you get twice the proficiency bonus on history checks, which is again really useful for roleplay because you get to know all the stuff that's happening around the world. Then you have the forest gnome, which gets speak with animals inbuilt once every long rest, but it's also good to know that once you cast this, unless you cancel it, it just stays there the entire time. It's really good to have this spell. It enables a lot more interaction with the world. You're going to be able to talk a lot more with things. Forest gnomes just don't have anything much more adding to them. Dark vision, again, they're great to play roleplay as, maybe as a druid, but in reality they're better off. Yeah, you're better off going with rock gnome in that regard. And then you have the deep gnomes. Deep gnomes get stone camouflage, so they have advantage on stealth checks, similar to the halflings, so great for rogues, and superior dark vision up to 24 meters, so they're gonna be able to see in the dark. But again, I think rock gnomes is the strongest of all of them. Deep gnomes are okay because of their dark vision, but that can be easily counteracted and it can be easily played around with. So in reality, their strength lies in their gnome cunning. Before we go to my favorite, let's go to the half-orcs. Half-orcs, you don't see very much of them in the game. I'm going to be honest, orcs are not very prevalent in Baldurs Gate 3, which is absolutely understandable. They're not known to live very close to Baldurs Gate, they're more close to Neverwinter, and they have colonies up further in the north, and in Baldurs Gate it's a bit more to the south, so orcs themselves don't appear as much. So it's going to be quite interesting what interactions you get with the game as you go along. People are going to react to you in a specific, in different manners. They're going to say and see you in different lights, and that's absolutely fun. It's cool to play with. They got standard walking speed, 9 meters per turn, 12 meters dark vision. You have then the 2 cool things. You have relentless endurance. If you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of being downed. This is once per turn. Sorry, once per long rest. It's incredibly strong, especially if you're a melee class. You essentially have a death ward on you since level 1, and it's incredible. They do very well because of that. And another build that goes very well with them, due to savage attacks, is going Warlock or Barbarian. Warlock, Pact of the Blade with savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with the weapon attack, you make extra damage, extra dice weapon damage. So you basically double your damage twice over, like triple your damage in total with a critical hit. Because when you do a critical hit, you double your damage, and then with savage attacks you essentially triple it. So they're going to be really good as warlocks, path of the blade, barbarians, fighters, technically speaking even rogues. They're going to be benefiting from all of that cool stuff. I really like these guys. I haven't played the campaign with them yet, but I do have plans for them. Again, really cool to use. Just keep in mind their limits, as they are going to be shunned by most people, even though they look cute as fuck. Look at those tusks. Look at those ears. Cuties. Finally, I think the most anticipated and most requested the Dragonborn. Dragonborn are draconic looking humanoids who are like freaking crazy. Alright, you tell me what's so special about them. Alright, they get the base racial speed, that's it, that's all they get. And then you have 10 sub-races. You have the black, blue, brass, bronze, red, green, gold, copper, silver, and white. And every single one of these have their unique features. They get a breath attack, which is them able to fire an AoE cone of whatever element they are tuned with. For example, gold and brass have a fire breath. Now, gold have a cone, while brass has a column in front of you. It changes a little bit according to the metallic and the colored. The metallic are a bit more on the good side. Remember right? Am I mixing these up? Yeah, the metallics are the goods and the colored ones are the evils. But you know, it is what it is, and they do their things. These guys are able to just adjust their ancestry, and for example, the gold is fire themed and they have resistance to fire. Same with brass, they are resistant to fire. Blue are resistant to lightning, but then can have a lightning breath, same as the bronze. And it just adds so much element of gameplay into the game, and it's just freaking cool. There is a number of elements: poison, ice, fire, I believe, are the main elements, and lightning, yes. So poison, fire, and ice, lightning. I think I hit them all. So that is just what makes them really cool, and they have a lot. And as you level up, you gain a bit more resistances here and there. They are very fun to play with, and if you decide to go with Dragonborn, I highly recommend playing as the Dark Urge. What I do recommend if you do play as the Dark Urge is that you customize it slightly. Storm Sorcery is cool and all, you get to fly as a bonus action, but Draconic Bloodline is where it's at. Draconic Bloodline, we'll get into this later, but essentially you can get double resistances, which is really freaking cool, like double draconic stuff. But yeah, that said, I believe that's all races. Now, while we're at it, and let's talk about the Dark Urge. The Dark Urge is a custom playthrough that you can do, but you'll have your own unique story. So unlike the pure custom playthrough, which you can go for pair, and unlike playing with Astarion, Lae'zel, Gale, Shadowheart, Will, or Karlach, you can play as the Dark Urge, and you get this really cool story which you just don't get with the others. You can still, if you go custom play, get to appreciate and like go through the story of every single other person, because they will be in your party. But the Dark Urge is simply someone that has to be played from the player's perspective, and it offers a very unique aspect of that. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below if you're still here, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you built up. Like, tell me your ideas. I want to hear them. I want to talk about Baldurs Gate. I want to talk. I think I've completely made my fiance go crazy. My friends don't want to talk to me anymore. When they see me, they just turn the other way, because all I do think about is Baldurs Gate, Baldurs Gate, Baldurs Gate, Baldurs Gate, Baldurs Gate. Have a good one. Bye!